Thank you for inviting me today. I'm going to start by describing to you the complaints procedure of one housing group. I'll then talk a little bit about the reality of what actually happens. I'll then talk a bit about the TRA's role in the above. And finally, I'll talk a bit about the so-called co-regulation system. One housing group's system for handling complaints is a two-stage process. First, there is the assignment and assessment of the problem, with a response time initially of 2 days and a full written reply to be given within 10 days. There is also a promise of personal contact throughout. If a resident is dissatisfied with stage 1, you can go to stage 2, which is described as the final stage, and expect a final written response within 10 days. As advertised, the system sounds quite good, but in reality, residents often get stuck in the system and can wait years for complaints and problems to be sorted out. From my own experience, I can tell you about a tenant where it took 6 years to get a bathroom leak fixed. We have a couple of tenants as well with ongoing dampness problems for many years. And an egregious example of how things can go wrong is a mother and child who have endured 12 treatments for bed bugs over the course of a year. In at least 2 of the above sample cases, residents have had to consult a solicitor to get the housing association to act. Also, all of the advertised systems are internal. What happens if a tenant is dissatisfied with the result of stage 2, for example? No advice is given as to any external appeal or recourse. I'll now talk about the TRA's role. Often a resident will consult the TRA, having gone through the whole process without satisfaction. Or they come directly to us in the first place. Why? Because they trust us and they know they will receive a sympathetic ear and helping hand. But what can we do? We can write to the housing association or try to arrange a meeting with the management, and sometimes this works. But it often depends on the goodwill or professionalism of the individual housing officer whether we get anything done. In reality, there is very little that we can do to hold the housing association to account. In other words, the co-regulation system does not work. Why? Because it assumes a balance of power where none exists. So, for example, housing associations are run by professionals, while TRAs are run by resident volunteers who give generously of their time, but who lack professional expertise and access, indeed, to professional advice. Also, TRAs have no statutory rights to hold housing associations to account under current arrangements. We lack the legislative tools to do the job. Finally, under a general climate of deregulation, housing associations have been allowed to evolve into self-proclaimed property developers and to renounce their social mission and ethos, despite the fact that they were set up, as we all know, in the first place with this mission in mind, and the fact that they have been in receipt of public funds and housing stock for many years. They have become increasingly unaccountable to tenants and regulators over time, and under existing structures like the tokenistic co-regulation idea, they can pretty much act with impunity. Even local authorities now have very little regulatory power, possessing only, quote, levers of influence under current arrangements. It is time to put a stop to this dangerous drift in social priorities, and we ask that you grant our specific requests for reform in our proposal. Thank you.